Central Committee members are supposed to be accessible to the people they represent. He got caught up in a crazy DUI in northern Kentucky where he wrecked into a guardrail, and he won't answer any questions about it. Batavia Township Precinct N, and that is where Zach Zipperer actually lives. I'm sure they're going to freak that I'm walking past Zach Zipperer's house because somehow I'm putting his life in danger. He doesn't seem to care about putting people's lives in danger when he was driving at 2x the legal limit. One of the key ways that cronies and party insiders rig primaries in the Clermont GOP is by using unfilled Central Committee seats to appoint employees of elected officials who could care less about representing those communities or what's best for the communities, but are there to protect the elected official. I'm going to give you two examples, both of them tie to prosecutor Mark Tucolvi. And this is a short form video. I'm going to have a longer form video that goes into much more detail. So the Central Committee in a political party is supposed to be people from each neighborhood or precinct. I am currently walking on Neal's Circle, which is in Batavia Township Precinct G. And this precinct is supposedly represented by Zach Zipperer, who works for the prosecutor's office, Mark Tucolvi. Zach Zipperer, you might have heard that name before. He got caught up in a crazy DUI in northern Kentucky where he wrecked into a guardrail, and he won't answer any questions about it. So if you look on this map, you see where my thumb is where basically I am now in Batavia Precinct, Township Precinct G. On the other side is Batavia Township Precinct N, and that is where Zach Zipperer actually lives. So what we're going to do to show what the Clermont GOP does, we're going to drive from where I am now, Neal's Circle in Precinct G, Batavia Township G, over to where Zach Zipperer lives in Batavia Township Precinct N. I already put it in the car. It's about 5.8 miles from here. So what happens is in the Clermont GOP, they take precincts like this, and instead of having them be represented by somebody who lives here, they put somebody in who is an employee of somebody like Mark Tucolvi. Why do they do that? Because then they can rig primary endorsements so that you don't really get a choice on the primary ballot. The people picking who are the candidates to be endorsed in the Republican primary are actually cronies of the elected officials who care about the elected officials and not about you or the Republican Party.
So this is the 10x sped up Tesla self-drive from Batavia Township Precinct G that Zach Zipperer says he represents to Batavia Township Precinct N, where Zach Zipperer actually lives.
Okay, so that was the drive. Central Committee members are supposed to be accessible to the people they represent, and they're supposed to be accessible within their neighborhoods. I'm sure they're going to freak that I'm walking past Zach Zipperer's house because somehow I'm putting his life in danger as a prosecutor, assistant prosecutor. He doesn't seem to care about putting people's lives in danger when he was driving at 2x the legal limit not that long ago in northern Kentucky. But I want to expose the sham of it all. Zach Zipperer doesn't want to represent people on a Republican Central Committee. He wants to protect his boss, Mark Tucolvi. That's how appointments get used within the Clermont GOP of people who don't even live in the precincts in order to control the primary elections. Remember, Mark DeCulvey has never had an opponent in a primary or general election. Another person on the Clermont County GOP Central Committee that doesn't represent the neighborhood they purport to is BLAIR Terpstra. BLAIR Terpstra's wife is Katie Terpstra, who worked for Prosecutor DeCulvey as an assistant prosecutor and is now a judge. I'm currently walking in Union Township Precinct N on Stone Creek Drive. This is where BLAIR Terpstra claims to represent. He was appointed to represent this area, but he actually lives in Union Township Precinct P1P, where I live. I beat BLAIR Terpstra in the election for the committee by about 2-1 voting wise. Now, what I'm going to do is go back to the car, and again, let's let it self-drive from where BLAIR Terpstra claims to represent, Union Township Precinct N, which on this map is the star down low, to where he actually lives, which is Union Township Precinct P1P. BLAIR Terpstra is actually a really good example of how crooked the system is. So his wife uses that she's a judge as a shield that you're not allowed to be critical of BLAIR in his rule. BLAIR was just named interim vice chair of the Clermont County Republican Central Committee. But he doesn't really want to meet people from the area he supposedly represents because he doesn't live anywhere close to here. He has no connection with this community.
This is the 10x sped up Tesla self-drive from Union Township Precinct N that BLAIR Terpstra says he represents to Union Township Precinct P1P, where BLAIR Terpstra actually lives.
Okay, so now I'm walking in BLAIR Terpstra's neighborhood after that drive. If you look at this neighborhood, he has nothing in common with the people that he purports to represent. This is Union Township Precinct P1P. He purports to represent Union Township Precinct N, where he does not live. He was also just recently named as going to be interim vice chair of the Central Committee of the Clermont GOP. Let's be very clear. Judges cannot participate in partisan politics. They can't be on central committees. And I don't know of a case ever, where a judge has had their spouse be on a central committee. Katie Terpstra, as I call her, Crazy Katie, she wants to be politically active in defense of her former boss, Mark DeCulvey. So she wants her husband to be a spear, but she wants herself to be a shield because she's a judge. But I just walked past her house a little bit ago, and you saw what the drive is. This is all to rig primaries. That's what you have to understand. So we're up here now in precinct P1P, where my index finger is. Where my thumb is, down here, is where we were. That's where BLAIR Terpstra claims to represent versus where he lives up here.